This week, an all-new Critiquing Comics. Adam and I discuss a horror anthology called Fables of Fear that's maybe a bit too short and sweet. Then Jason joined me to discuss the graphic novel Black Plastic. Probably not a book aimed at geezers, but we're giving it a shot anyway. First, I'd like to thank our patrons for helping to keep the show going. You can pitch in by pledging at least $2 a month at patreon.com/deconcomics. This is Tim.
This is Adam.
This is Jason.
And this is Critiquing Comics. Welcome to Critiquing Comics. This is Tim in Tokyo. I think this is going to be a two-comic episode. The first half with Adam and the second half with Jason. Hi, Adam in Nagoya.
Hi, Tim. Happy to be creeping into the first half of the show, into the A block.
Right, exactly.
The coveted A block. Yeah.
The comic that we have here is called Fables of Fear. I gathered that it was collected from issues that they had done before. Writer and colorist Karl Brandt and artist David Parsons. Brandt is Australian and Parsons is British. And this book doesn't have an issue number on it, but inside it says it's some stuff from issue 1 and from issue 2 and from other places. What surprised me is that 32 pages and there are 7 stories in it. So needless to say, they're quite short. And a few times I thought they were maybe a little too short.
Yeah. That's the number one takeaway that I had from this is that the stories, they seem like they end just as soon as they start. So
yeah, really abrupt sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I get what it's trying to do. It's trying to be sort of like I assume like a Twilight Zone kind of, feature of the week kind of thing. But a lot of these, they're done in a page or two because there's not a lot of like dialogue or like exposition, they finish, very, very quickly.
Yeah, and looking at the page numbers in the table of contents, the stories are like 3 pages, 4 pages, 5 pages, no more than 5. Many of them are 3. So, yeah, you just kind of get going and, it's done already?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very brief read, so that, in the context of like people like us reading for a show where, you might have a lot of different things to read. I'm glad that it doesn't just drag on and on for hundreds of pages if it's not interesting, but I could have done with more a lot of these stories because I feel like the premise is very interesting for a lot of them, and each story has a very unique kind of setting and a different type of protagonist and different types of obstacles that they're facing and things, with the exception of the fact that I think they're mostly based on animal attacks or people attacking animals. But but I feel like they could have been fleshed out a bit more, and this could have been, they could have easily been, instead of a 30-page book, it could have been, a 100-page book, and it still would have read just as quickly and breezily as a typical 32-page book, to be honest.
So, I guess let's walk through these. They're all so short. First one is called Where Eagles Soar, and it's this guy parachuting down, and a big bird, maybe a hawk, claws his parachute, making it take kind of a skull shape. And so he's falling, and does he drink something? Is that what happens?
Yeah, it looks like that was his resort. He's like, well, I guess I'm going to die. So he pulls out alcohol, but that wouldn't even affect you by the time you hit the rocks.
Yeah, it's really fast working alcohol.
Yeah.
And then, so he falls into kind of a canyon, falls down the side, and ends up hanging by the parachute along the wall of the canyon, and he's all kind of tangled up in the cables from the parachute. He can't move, and he's bleeding and whatever, and he thinks help will arrive and he'll be free as a bird, and then he sees he's right in front of a hawk's nest, and there are skeletons strewn around.
And baby Bird's waiting for the mom to chew him up and regurgitate him into
and the mom has got her beak kind of starting to cut into his chest.
Right.
It reminds me of there's an old EC story that I happened to see in the like live action Tales of the Crypt show like long ago that my then wife was watching on Japanese TV. Where the guy is like in the desert and he gets like injured so he can't move his arms and legs, and then the vultures come and tear his eyeballs out. So this is not quite as gross as that, but it's kind of the same idea.
Saying that though, I mean, I definitely felt like this had a very much of an EC comics kind of vibe to it for sure, or like old pulp kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But hearing you talk about Tales from the Crypt, this book would be really great if it had that kind of comic relief of the Crypt Keeper, like hello boils and ghouls, kind of like between stories. That would be pretty good. But yeah, this is the story in particular where I felt like, wait, that's where you're going to stop it. And like, it's a great ending, but they could have drawn it out more where like, have him feeling, because you see he hits the rock and he goes unconscious and then he sort of comes to. You could really play that out. I feel like what this book is missing is not necessarily that the stories aren't fully kind of fleshed out so much as that the passage of time is not well done in a sense. Like, so they could have easily, you don't have to even put dialogue or anything, but just you could easily show him kind of sitting there for a long time, coming to, and that could be something as simple as, establishing shots where they show the sun go down and then it come back up again or something like that, or something that kind of gives you contextual clues that he's been hanging on this for a while. Because I would presume that it takes a while for this eagle to come over and, I mean, the nest is right there. So either the eagle timed it perfectly where he just happened to land on the nest, or she came and built a nest while he's there. I don't really know. But that's, so I really feel like they could have done more with to show the passage of time in a better sense. And a lot of the other stories, I feel the same way, that showing the passage of time in a more intuitive way would have served the story better.
Yeah. Well, I felt like I didn't have a chance to quite even get oriented and like exactly what is the situation that he's in. 'Cause it all goes by so quickly. And you're like, so wait, what happened? And where is he? And, yeah, it was just like zoom and it's gone. And I blinked and I missed it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I felt that way for sure. So, I guess the story goes by about as quickly as that alcohol works on him. So,
right. Yeah, I mean, the stories go by so quickly, even alcohol works faster. Just put it to your lips and you're plastered.
Yeah, exactly. This one, it was pretty straightforward to me as far as the storytelling goes. The second one about the Hog's Head Inn, which I'm presuming you're about to talk about, I guess I can explain it. This one,
Hog's Head is a double meaning in this story.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I don't know if a lot of people will catch the meaning of hogshead. I mean,
no, I wasn't familiar with it either, meaning like a cask of alcohol, like a barrel. I mean, I just thought of a literal hogshead, and there's one of those in here too, but...
Right. I mean, I remember once teaching an English lesson about how crazy the, imperial system or the American measurement system is. And I remember reading that how many gallons go into a hogshead or something like that. And I was like, why do we even have a hogshead in the first place? So, but yeah, the premise of this story is that a couple ends up at this inn and there's a boar's head hanging on the wall, a taxidermied boar's head on the wall. And the husband decides, I guess the staff comes in and gives them the house vermouth. I was not aware that people drink vermouth by itself. I always thought it was like a mixer, but I looked it up and apparently that is very much a thing. So they drink this vermouth and it's very strong. And so it gets the guy kind of feeling, dizzy. He needs to go out for a walk. And as he's doing that, the staff comes and tells them that this hogshead is cursed, essentially, because
this bearded guy. So in the second page, he just kind of shows up, and later I noticed that he's sitting in the background in the first page. He seems to be a customer. But it's never really explained who this guy is. He just kind of shows up and immediately starts talking about, giving us a flashback. There's no like, hi, how you doing? My name is blah, blah, blah. It just goes straight into his story.
Yeah. He's just the creepy bar patron. You're right. I hadn't noticed him in the first panel either. And there he does look like that weird, I'm sure there's a word for that trope, like the wise bar patron who knows more about the story than everyone else. But yeah, this is exactly what, you're right. This is exactly what I was talking about with the pacing. They could have showed him lingering there more, like just a shot of him kind of leering over and looking at them or something before he starts talking to them.
Yeah, we barely get time to set a mood here. We're so quickly into the story that we needed a little bit more mood setting, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And the same thing, the husband goes out to have a walk, but it's instant. Like before he gets to the door, this guy has already given the whole exposition about the the haunted hogshead, So, and I guess so this one, I guess the conceit is that this hog hunted or, attacked humans and killed everybody he came in contact with. And so when the people finally got together and fell this big hog, they forgot to give this, blood ritual to the goddess of the hunt or something, right?
Yeah. I'm not even sure how to pronounce that. Aruna?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Arouinna.
I'll let you wade into that water by yourself. But yeah, so then, I guess I don't know if we want to spoil all of these stories, but
I guess I'm zooming in. No, that's a D, not an O. Arduinna.
Arduina,
maybe. Yeah. Yeah, we don't necessarily need to spoil them all. I did want to say about this story that, let's see, on the fourth page, so the woman and the bearded bar patron are together in this room, and they see that the hogshead mounted on the wall has blood dripping from it. And then in that third panel, there's a trap door in the floor in the background, and there's a click sound. And I assumed that something was going to come out. But then in the next panel, she's down in the dungeon, and she finds the bearded guy down there dead. And so I guess the click was he went in there, but there was no indication. Yeah, I couldn't understand that from that panel. We needed a panel of him going into the trap door. It was kind of disorienting.
Well, I don't think so, though, Tim, because if you look at the fourth panel, you can see his boots coming down the stairs behind her. So he followed her in, and then that crack from the fifth panel is him, I assume, getting whacked.
I missed his feet there. Okay, well, then what's the click in the third panel? This door
that's
just
the weirder part.
Opening by itself?
That's the weirder part. If you see she's sticking her fingers into the nostril of the pig, like it's a trap, like she is aware of the trap door or something. So I got to be honest, when I read this, I read through it twice because I wasn't quite clear on it myself. I didn't know what was happening either. I didn't ever think that he fell through the trap door, but I was wondering, like, no matter how you look at it, that's clearly a trapdoor. Like it's a recessed floor at one point. Like it's so suspicious in the first place. So I don't know. I guess I don't want to like tear this story apart because it's a cool premise, like I said. But this is one that it really needs some more panels to kind of show you the action. Like you see a guy walking down the stairs, and then he's almost instantly killed, and all you have to indicate that is this little subtle crack right there, right? So
right. Well, and yeah, I mean, just seeing those feet that I completely missed on the stairway, I think we needed a little bit more confirmation that he was going down there too with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure these original issues how many pages they had or how many stories were in them, but yeah, I think they should have let them all breathe a little more and maybe just do one per issue or something.
Definitely, I agree. If this had been one story, because it's a cool, like I said, it's a cool setup. You have this couple goes to this weird inn. There's this weird lore about, a giant pig that massacres people. All of that kind of stuff. You could have easily drawn that out into a much longer story, and it would have been all the better for it. And even just some of the things here, like the framing of the fight scene. This guy comes at her with a hammer, and I guess there's a tussle because she moves her flame, but you don't really understand why he's on the floor and how she got the hammer from him and all of this kind of stuff. So it just needs a few more panels to kind of make it all more clear and to make the actions more smooth.
Mm-hmm.
So
now the next story I think works better. The hunter-gatherer story. It's 5 pages. It has a little bit more room to develop and lull you into thinking you understand what's going on. And then the last page, it gives you a gut punch like, oh, okay. And yeah, I didn't have the pacing problems with this one.
Yeah, this is the best one. And this one reminds me, the way you just said it, it reminds me, I think the comedian Chris Hardwick put it this way. He said that Twilight Zone should be renamed Nice Try Asshole. And I think that's totally what this kind of story is. It's like you have this idea, okay, this is what it is. This guy goes out, he learns to survive in the wilderness. He meets these local people, and then you find out, okay, he's the one being hunted, or they're the ones being hunted, and he's the bait, essentially. So yeah, this was a really cool story. The artwork is the best in this one. The style of it is done well, and the story is it's a much more evenly paced and well-told story.
Yeah,
I think. So this is probably my favorite.
Yeah, no confusion, no feeling like, wow, that was abrupt. Like, what, it's over already? Yeah, I didn't have those feelings on this one.
Right, and the idea of aliens or even future men going out and hunting past hominids is a really cool idea. Like hunting Neanderthals and Cro-Magnon men and stuff that's a really cool concept. So I like this one.
So yeah, maybe we don't need to walk through all of them, but I wanted to ask you if you have any idea what happened in the story Babushka, the next to last one.
That is the most confusing one for me for so many reasons. First of all, why does this gang of girls want to steal a doll from this old woman in the first place? It doesn't appear for any reason that the doll is worth anything. She's like a homeless woman sitting outside next to a burning, trash fire or something, right? So there's no reason to indicate why that babushka is valuable in the first place. But I will say, so if you really want to know what my opinion is about what the story actually is, like what's going on, I get the impression that this babushka is kind of cursed, and it's another one of those,
or the Russian doll.
Yeah, the Russian doll. I get the feeling that this is supposed to be sort of a Twilight Zone or Outer Limits kind of morality tale where they steal the doll, and so she becomes a doll. Because at the end, the guy's basically cutting her open and finding all these layers to her. I guess. Oh no, maybe not. Well, or you see the doll broken there, and he's cutting her open. So, and he says,
"Eat the other people."
Oh, I'm wondering. Okay, that's true.
The Russian doll thing, one inside another, and they're talking about how 4 people went into the alley, and there's only one left, and the guy says, don't you see the answer's been lying in front of us the whole time, just waiting to be unwrapped, and he's sticking his knife into the body. So I guess that somehow the others are inside her, but that still doesn't quite make sense to me.
I don't know. It is really confusing because you see her sitting there where there's like multiple hands reaching out for her. And then she's like, oh, I must be having a bad trip. But then you see only one set of hands. And then she appears to be the one who's stripped naked and laying on the ground, holding the doll.
And apparently dead.
Yeah. Yeah, this one, you got me. I have no idea.
Yeah, we waved the white flag on that one.
And I really want to know, like, this would have been a cool story to see, like, if there is, like, if this babushka or this whatever matryoshka doll somehow actually makes people eat each other in a nesting doll sort of way, that would have been cool. But it's all kind of wrapped up too quickly. So, yeah, the one after that is the most Australian of them all. This is the one that sort of clued me in that this is definitely about Australia. There's a few other ones where he uses certain words like, I think like buggering or something like that. I forget. But yeah, this one is straight up because it's a story about Tasmania, right? And Tasmanian tigers, which are extinct, I think. So,
and the kangaroo.
Yeah. So, and this one, I'm not really, there's not really much to comment on it. It was kind of a cool story. The guy escapes through, I like this one actually. It's a cool story. I don't want to blow it all. I don't want to, spoil all these stories, but this one is cool. Because it's sort of a double, like subterfuge or something, it's him hiding inside of an animal skin and an animal carcass hiding inside of a human, I don't know, clothing or something. So I like this one. What I want to say about it is the cover, the cover of number 2, which I would assume this is what this comes from.
We've got number 2. Covers of the past issues in the back.
This is the coolest cover. That cover is really eye-catching, and it's really well. They're in kind of a Jack Kirby pose, and
those white and black prison outfits really stand out.
Yeah. It's really cool. And the fact that the black stripes, there's no border between them and the black kind of background, which makes it look even more dynamic. I think this is a really, really well done cover.
Yeah.
So much, much better than the one that's on this book. Number 1 is a cool cover too, but that's the one from the story that we can't quite make heads or tails of. So
yeah. But yeah, the cover of this book that we're looking at it's the story about the hog's head. But yeah, it's a little confusing, especially if you haven't read the story, because it looks like the bar patron is getting ready to sink his axe into the woman. But that's not what happens in the story.
No, it's not, but that's what I thought was going to happen when he goes and grabs the axe, because I had to figure out what he was grabbing the axe for in the first place, because the woman is trying to grab the door, which made me think she's trying to escape while this crazy guy goes and grabs his axe. And then the guy, you find out that he's chopping the doorknob off so they can get into the room where the husband was, I presume. So, yeah, I definitely thought that he was going to be the one who was going to chop her up.
I mean, maybe that's what we're supposed to think, but she doesn't even seem to notice him. And I would think it would be a little bit more powerful cover if she's, looking at him in horror and, afraid she's about to be chopped to bits.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I agree with that. So, I think that all of these stories, they have a really clever idea behind them, and they start off, they do the language of the visual language of the story. It tells it well if it was paced more evenly. So I guess that's my only real criticism is just the pacing, because if they had used that same visual language and just kind of filled it out a bit more, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah. So future work, let it breathe more, I would say, and then it'll be quite a bit better than this. I mean, that makes a big difference in your enjoyment of the stories, I think.
For sure. Yeah, they're like tweet-length stories.
140 characters.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I guess that's what they used to be. It's 280 or something now. I don't know.
Yeah.
However
They're also
high
not
Elon
called
can
tweets.
count.
Yeah. We're old. That's just, this is the conclusion we come to on every episode. We're old. So
Yeah, that situation's not improving. Coming up, it's about karaoke. It's about being pursued by assassins. It's about to drive us nuts. Jason and I discuss the graphic novel Black Plastic right after this. This podcast is part of the Deconstructing Comics Network, where we're grateful to our supporters on Patreon. Patrons get exclusive extra content. Pledge $2 a month or more and get Batman 66 podcast Bat Bits and occasional trivia videos. Most recently, we presented trivia about 90125, the 1983 album from Yes. Coming up, we'll discuss early drafts of the script for The Bookworm Turns. At $4 a month, you also get our new monthly show, Silver Age Batman, where I'm moving through the book Batman in the 50s issue by issue, with a rotating second chair of Paul, Emmett, Patrick, or Kumar. Follow our Patreon for free, and you can hear the first 2 episodes of Silver Age Batman. Check it out at patreon.com/deconcomics, and thanks for your support.
Do you like comics? The 1960s? How about middle-aged gay couples gossiping about their neighbors? Then you'll love Checkered Past.
A loving examination of DC's Go-Go Check branded comic magazines published from February 1966 to August 1967.
I'm Dr. Bob.
And I'm Dr. Husband.
And each week we'll be your hosts on a trippy tour through mid-century four-color madness. Checkered Past. Available wherever fine podcasts are downloaded for free.
All right, and now I'm back, but I'm with Jason. Hi, Jason.
Greetings, Tim.
And we got kind of a challenging comic. It's called Black Plastic, written by Josh Tierney, art by, try to pronounce this. I need to start requiring some people who submit comics to give us pronunciation guides, because we're always struggling with people's names. Nicci, Busse. I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering it, but that was an attempt. Published by WildStar Press. And yeah, the first time I read this, I was so frustrated because I didn't know what was going on, and I almost invoked the old rule that Mullally and I had that we would only read more than 30 pages if we liked the comic. But I did power through, and I read it a second time, and I kind of understand it now, but I still am not sure what the point is.
I had the exact same experience. I'm so glad that you said that, because I was reading it, and then I'm like, wait, what? What are they talking about? What assassins? Like, what is going on? And then I put it down after 40 pages, and I was like, I can't even deal with this thing. And then I picked it up, and I sort of like skimmed it towards the end, and then I reread the first 20 or something pages to make sure that I don't have, like, some cognitive failure upstairs. But like
Alzheimer's setting in.
Yeah, I think that the initial problem is this book is not meant for you or I.
Well, that's very possible.
This book was written for someone who grew up on the internet. Let's tell them what the book's about.
All right,
Tim.
So
what's up, Black Plastic?
Black Plastic, and apparently it's set in Toronto. Apparently, in the future, there seem to be some Japanese elements to it. Most of the story takes place in a karaoke business called Black Plastic. The two main characters are Gigi and Tokui. Tokui is a Japanese adjective meaning you're good at something. Mm-hmm. And so these two characters are convinced that there are assassins after them because they revealed that a certain large corporation was abusing its workers. And these two are good at manipulating the tech in the karaoke building to hide the fact that they're there, and they can tap into the surveillance cameras and look in other rooms in the building. So that much I'm pretty much sure.
Wow, that was stellar, Tim. That was so good. That was such a good plot description of what I read. I don't know that I could have put all that into words without throwing my keyboard against the wall.
Well, I've been doing this almost 20 years, so. I hope I'm getting better at something.
There's some sort of espionage thing where they steal some data from the outside of a building, and then they go to karaoke, and then they just surmise out of thin air that maybe they might send assassins after them. But then after that, it's like there's a plot where they're looking for the assassin. They're looking into every room going, is that the assassin? Is that the assassin? And I was like, you pulled that out of thin air. And now it's like the plot of the book is find the assassin. And guess what? There are assassins, and they might as well have a big sign over their head that says, we are the assassins.
With their turtleneck collars pulled up over their mouths.
Yeah, and that I couldn't tell you why anyone does anything in this book. At one point, the assassins have the drop on them and do nothing. The whole book is about watching other people sing and other people do things. And our protagonists, like, they get drunk and do karaoke and just watch other people do stuff. And at the end, they escort, like, a fragile girl who's been bullied out of the building. I can't even with this plot, Tim. I think this whole thing is like this madcap. Like to me, it felt like a music video, like in another language that I could barely keep up with. And so much of the plot is
while on drugs.
Yeah, like I felt I have a hangover from reading this book because it's the only way you can get through it.
The most confounding part was that there are a couple of points where someone cuts a hole in someone else's body or their own body and inserts something in it. And the one time we're looking in one of the other karaoke rooms, and there are a bunch of girls and one boy, and he's this kind of cute boy who's really docile, and they're giving him a hard time. And one of them cuts in his arm, sticks her fingers in, and says, "There, now you've made love." I'm like, what? If that's making love, I'm counting myself out. Just forget it.
I've been doing it very, very wrong. I haven't gotten it right once. Apologies to everybody. And there's also someone later who's like puts a credit card in their chest, and they're talking about there's the end of the world that they're going to escape. And I was like, this feels like it's supposed to be like this madcap musical comedy romp that it's just not. I can't follow it. I don't know who I'm following or why. I don't know why anyone is doing what they're doing. And there is so much text speak. Characters are communicating through text while in the same room
text
with
messages.
each other.
Yeah, well, they're right there together in the scene. We see their text message traffic. Like, is this happening simultaneously to them being together in the room, or is this a message from a different time in the past or future?
Well, you've got to look at the dates, because sometimes they're having conversations in the past, sometimes they're having conversations in the present, but then sometimes they're talking about things that are completely not what's happening on the page. Like, he's like, "I'm sorry, I didn't want to go this way." And she's like, "Yeah, me neither." I'm like, nowhere in this book does that conversation take place or is appropriate. And I felt like this is just, if you grew up in the internet age texting everyone, it probably isn't as grating to you as it is to me. But from a comic book flow perspective, I hated it.
I didn't really like it either. It was kind of taking me out of it.
Yeah, it's just the flow wasn't there. And I don't know what the story was. I don't know what the point of anything was. So I'm not following anyone because I don't care about anyone. I couldn't tell you what anyone's characteristics are in this, except they like to sing. Everyone in here likes to sing. Everyone's to karaoke. And the one guy, he's on a super secret spy mission, and he's getting blackout drunk. So, buddy, you're not helping at all. If you're worried about being killed, I don't know. I like hooch, but I want to stay a little bit sober so I don't get killed from the assassins that I just dreamt into existence. Yeah, it was like so much was thrown at the wall. And here's the other thing. It's not badly drawn.
Yeah, art's serviceable. I never looked at a panel saying, what's going on? It wasn't quite like something that Marvel or DC would publish, but I could follow it. It looked all right.
No, it had a simpler style, a simpler digital style, but the art wasn't bad. It worked.
Uh-huh.
And the dialogue was actually not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, had fun, but I couldn't tell you why the story exists, or what it's about, or what it's trying to do, or what anyone's motivations are. So there's talent here. I just think maybe just don't move so fast and don't be so cute.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been a common problem over the years of critiquing comics where the author is holding back too much information, thinking that it's going to make you more interested rather than less.
It's definitely less. And then at the end, it seems I got to the end. I don't want to ruin the ending, but it seems like there's some big cathartic, emotional weight to that ending. And I laughed. I was like, what is this?
Oh, where Gigi goes out in the woods. Yeah.
And face plants face down in the woods. And is she communing with nature? Is it a revolt against the techno-industrial system?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Understand
it just looks ridiculous.
I felt like it was a punctuation to something that I hadn't actually seen happen in the comic.
No, it was an ending to a different story. It had no weight or connection to what we were doing.
Yeah, yeah.
It actually it felt like the ending of Dario Argento's movie Opera, which also has a batshit left field ending, but at least it has a good score by the prog rock group Goblin.
Okay.
I think the biggest problem with this piece is it doesn't have music, and so much of it is centered around music that you could probably soften all of the issues that we have with music. Look, if you look at a lot of music videos, the plot without the song, maybe doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, Josh put a lot of time into coming up with song titles and artist names and album titles and even record companies and flashes them in like their MTV captions at the beginning and the end of a video back when MTV played videos. But yeah, I was almost wondering, did he actually write these songs? Did these songs exist? I don't know.
Did any of them deepen your understanding of the story?
No, after a while I was just kind of bleeping past them. They just seemed irrelevant.
Yeah, it was just filler. So it really feels like this should have been a music video. Because look, what's the plot of November Rain, the Guns N' Roses video, right? We all saw that in the 90s. I couldn't tell you really what the plot is. I could tell you some of the beats, but the music sounded good and it all held together. This thing needed to be a music video, not a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know what they're accomplishing. So they found out a company is treating its employees badly?
Imagine.
I can't find me one that treats its employees well. You want to do science fiction? You find a company that values its employees. That'll be a wow moment. So a noble effort. I also just think culturally, I'm not a big karaoke person. You don't want to hear me sing. So I just think culturally, maybe there's parts of this it's just not for me. I just think I'm probably a couple decades too old to appreciate this. They did a good job with it. It's got a vibe. It's got its own thing. It's just not for me. And I would say almost all of it went over my head and didn't land with me.
I wonder, are Canadian karaoke rooms that big? I mean, in Japan, a karaoke room would be about a third the size of these gymnasiums that they're singing in.
Well, we do have. I've gone to other people singing karaoke, and you can get a decent sized room, right? Japan's an island. In Canada, we just in America, North America, we can spread out.
Right.
We stole a lot of land. We could just spread out and keep going. It's also the future, Tim.
Right. So the future has more spacious karaoke rooms.
Yeah. This skyscraper, which is mostly karaoke, is this also the place called Black Plastic? Is this also where they make cell phones and kill people? The Death Factory, or is this a different giant building?
Yeah, I'm not sure what
giant buildings.
I'm not sure what the corporation was called. Black Plastic I took to be the building, and there's a sign outside that says that.
Okay,
at the top.
So it's a different big building that they're at, where the factory in the middle of Vancouver, where people are getting chewed to bits making my iPhone.
Yeah, I see Black Plastic, and then it says in Japanese karaoke on there. So I'm not sure why they would do that in Toronto, put it in Japanese and not English. But
can I just say this?
If
those are the workers responsible for making Skype, I have no problem with them being chopped to bits.
Yeah, we had technical issues this morning with the soon-to-be defunct Skype app.
Stuff all the Skype employees into those big winding gears. Chew them up and spit them out. If Skype was a person, I would be in jail right now for murdering it with my bare hands. So, via con Dios, Skype, no one's going to miss you. Don't let the internet hit you on the way out.
Yeah, I don't know about those songs though. I thought the lyrics were really awkward. It was hard for me to imagine them being sung. You know, they didn't feel like they were in any particular kind of meter, and just some of the expressions in them I've never heard in a song. I don't know. If somebody could put those to music, I'd be interested in knowing how
or it could be even worse. It just feels like a fever dream of a story.
Mm.
You know, like if someone relates to you a dream they had, this is like that.
Yeah.
You know, like I had this crazy dream and all these things happen and people go, wow, that's crazy. You should make that into a comic book. But then I would be in the corner going, no, doesn't need to be a comic. It needs to be a music video. So it breaks my heart that someone says this is a comic book that we don't like. But again, I just think it's not for us. I bet you with the right audience, they might love it.
Yeah, probably so. Somebody like half our ages or younger might.
In another country on drugs.
Yeah.
So
this is the most we've savaged a comic on this show in a long time.
It just made me mad. It's not personal. It just made me mad because I felt like I was missing something. Like I had lost the ability to read or understand how story works. I was like, I cannot be this stupid, right?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I was the one on drugs, and I'm like, what's going on in the story? Did I miss something? Like, yeah.
And I have that sometimes with manga, where it's just like I just think culturally, like what is taboo or what they're culturally afraid of or whatever isn't what I'm experiencing. Mm-hmm. So I'm usually like, okay, like I need the comic to inform me of what I'm not culturally getting, and this comic did not do that. Did not tell me what I'm not getting. It's just, I don't know. It's just people do drugs, Tim. People do drugs and people make comics.
Mm. And they cut holes in people's arms and stick their fingers in, and they think that's sex.
What that is. You know what? Could be, man. Could be what the kids are up to these days. I don't know. From another error.
Yeah, I don't know. Error. I think. Josh, maybe send your comic to younger podcasters in the future. That might work better.
Yeah. I mean, I had to take my walker all across the room to download that PDF on my dial-up AOL. Yeah, it made me feel old and worthless.
Brush my social security checks out of the way to find my computer.
I had to explain to my 82-year-old aunt what TikTok was. Now I know how she feels when I'm reading this comic. I'm like, what is happening? Like, the world is just not making any sense anymore. I thought I understood comics. I don't. So I'm going to have my wife take me in the backyard and just shoot me like an old dog.
You're Old Yeller, are you?
Yeah, I'm Old Ginger.
Check the show notes for links about both of the comics we talked about this time. As I mentioned last week, we're no longer updating our X account. Instead, you can follow us on Blue Sky at Decon Comics. On Facebook, we have both a page and a group. I'd recommend the group as being a bit more interesting. Those are linked from deconstructingcomics.com, as is our YouTube channel, where our episodes are posted every week as videos of a single image. You can comment on our episodes on YouTube or on our site, or drop us a line at mail@deconstructingcomics.com, or talk to us. Click the Leave a Voicemail link on the left sidebar of our site. Are you making a comic? Send it to us and we'll do a Critiquing Comics episode about it. Our theme is from bensound.com. The music backing the promotion of our Patreon is Change by Jazar. Next week on Deconstructing Comics, we jump back 11 years to the time James Robinson himself joined in on our review of Starman. Ryan Haupt of iFanboy and Science Sort Of brought along the book's writer to our discussion of that fan-favorite series. Join us next week for our flashback to episode 385 from January 6, 2014. Till then, this is Tim, and thanks for listening to Critiquing Comics.